Not because I don't like Ortega. That's not the problem. The problem is that we allow this to continue. The possibility of going back again to a new cycle of violence, and even military violence, is real. And we are really very concerned for our future, for the future of our children, our grandchildren, see, because the country can't continue that way. So that's the situation now. The risk is that there will be a fraud. There could be different scenarios. One scenario could be that Ortega could win. That's the real scenario. That would not be a problem for the country. But the other scenario is that he loses. He loses and he decides to commit fraud. So it will be a problem. There will be a problem. And all the circumstances have been created for a fraud. I personally, I don't know exactly if he will dare to do that, because what is at risk, at stake, is very serious in terms of the future, for our country. So that's the situation. It's not a good field, if you wish, a good situation in the country, but we are doing what we think is the best thing to do. We organize that alliance with different parties, with different groups. Now we are getting in polls near 40%. And so that's the dilemma, that's the situation. And that's why I think it is important that you be informed. That's why I accepted the invitation here to come and talk about what's going on in Nicaragua. It's a difficult situation, but there are a lot of people and many political groups and social groups working to avoid the worst in Nicaragua. Thank you.
Kathy Hoyt.
I'm going to stand because I brought a few slides. Víctor Hugo, esa luz te está dando en los ojos.
Sí,
Yo no sé
sí.
si quieren moverse.
Sí.
Alguien, usted, me di cuenta como por la mitad. Okay.
Hello, testing.
This is my first slide is those nice maps of Central America, where you see Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, then Nicaragua in yellow, and then Costa Rica and Panama, and then another map of Nicaragua, which shows the main cities and the coasts on either side. The Nicaragua Network, the organization that I work for, was founded in February of 1979 in support of the struggle of the Nicaraguan people to overthrow the Somoza family dictatorship, which had ruled Nicaragua for 45 years with the support of the United States government. Then after the victory of the Sandinistas in July of 1979, the Nicaragua Network committees around the U.S. supported the projects of the revolution and worked to stop U.S. aid to the counter-revolutionaries that were trying to overthrow the revolutionary government under President Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. After the Sandinistas lost the 1990 elections, we worked with Nicaraguan civil society organizations against the cruel economic policies imposed on Nicaragua by the IMF, the World Bank, and the United States. When FSLN candidate and former president Daniel Ortega won the presidential election of 2006, we did not really know what to expect. We had had strained relations with the Sandinista party for almost a decade for several reasons. And most of the Sandinistas we had worked with over the years were now dissident Sandinistas, as we've heard. They were no longer active in the party or even in the FSLN any longer. We decided that the Nicaraguan Network would condemn policies or actions that we felt merited condemnation, praise those that we thought were laudable, and stay out of most issues where foreigners, especially from the United States, given our history, should not intervene. So we've bemoaned or condemned a number of things. The abolition of therapeutic abortion, which had been allowed for a century under Nicaraguan law, when the life or the health of a woman is at risk. Violence against opposition demonstrators, and harassment of opposition non-governmental organizations. Now let's see if this thing works. There it is. But from the first, we were impressed with many of the policies of the Ortega administration. And now that he's running for re-election, we feel that these policies need to be taken into account. The fees for public elementary education and primary health care imposed as conditions for loans with the international financial institutions were abolished the day the Ortega government took office in January 2007. In education, chaos resulted as children flooded into the schools and classes had to be held under trees and under tarps. There were shortages of essential medicines as people hurried to the health centers with neglected illnesses. But problems were addressed. And one Matagalpa group that is usually opposed to the government of Daniel Ortega said that after 1990, she said, things had gotten so bad that people preferred to stay home and die. But now at the clinics, there were free x-rays and there were reactives for lab tests, etc. The country's economy has improved. Exports hit a record $1 billion on May 20th of this year, based on high commodity prices for Nicaragua's main exports, including coffee, gold, beef, and sugar. A Sid Gallup poll released in late May showed 61% of respondents said their lives in general had improved under President Ortega, while only 30% said they were less well off. Daily electricity blackouts throughout the country were having a disastrous effect on Nicaragua's economy when Ortega took office. Signing on to ALBA, which Victor Hugo mentioned, the Bolivarian Alliance for Our America, saved Nicaragua from energy disaster. Venezuela sent a generator and shipments of oil under favorable payment conditions. The blackouts ended and the economy began to take off. The rural sector, especially small and medium-scale farmers, has been reactivated by government purchase of basic food products to be sold at the government food posts, and also to be exported to Venezuela as Nicaragua's participation in ALBA. The internationally funded studies have documented a slow but sure reduction in poverty. Among the policies responsible for this reduction especially in severe rural poverty, has been the Zero Hunger program, which has helped 100,000 families so far. In 2009, the Nicaragua Network sponsored a study tour to Nicaragua to look at government anti-poverty programs. And we visited Maria Isabel, that's the woman on the right in the slide, an indigenous woman who had benefited from the Zero Hunger program. Her production package from the government included a cow, chickens, and several pelibue sheep, which are sheep without wool. You may say that that seems to be an unnecessary animal, but no, it gives meat and milk and other things besides wool. Besides corn and beans, she and her children grow oranges, avocados, papayas, and yuca. And when asked if she sells the fruit that she produces at the local market, she said no, that they eat it all, along with the eggs, the 6 eggs they get a day from the chickens, from the hens. When asked about accusations that the Zero Hunger program was only for Sandinistas, Maria Isabel laughed. And she said that she had been a liberal, that's the opposition, for many years, and she had never gotten so much as a pinch of salt from them. So she and all of her children switched in 2006, she said, and voted for Don Daniel Ortega, as she phrased it. Now, whether she was proof that zero hunger went to everyone, whether they were liberals or Sandinistas, or whether it was proof, that, as the opposition asserts, that it only goes to Sandinistas, we didn't know. You could take it either way. Nicaraguan exports have grown 71% in 5 years. The Maquila assembly plants, or free trade zone sector, grew from 552 million in the first semester of 2010 to 718 million in the first half of this year, and is looking to achieve at least $1.3 billion in exports in 2011. Granted, these are not high-wage jobs, as you know, but jobs they are. Journalist Tim Rogers, normally a critic of Daniel Ortega, said in a recent article, quote, "Nicaragua has wisely invested millions of dollars in aid from Venezuela in key industries that will continue to churn profits long after Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez has gone," unquote. Included among them are energy, oil, cattle, and timber. While these companies are private and close political allies of the FSLN, including members of the Ortega family, run them, they are producing profits and exportable products to pay for Venezuela's oil largesse, providing tax income to enlarge government coffers each year, and money to fund social programs as well. Our 2009 delegation met with a cooperative leader who explained how the money from Venezuelan oil benefits Nicaragua's poor. He told us that oil comes to the mixed company called Albanesa, which is 60% Venezuelan and 40% Nicaraguan. Then he said Nicaragua pays 60% upfront and 40% financed with a loan to be paid back over 25 years at 2% interest. Victor Hugo said 50-50, but this fellow told us 60-40. But at any rate, you get the idea. The sale of that 40% of Venezuelan oil goes to a fund for social needs. Some goes to the ALBA Fund for Rural Credit, some goes for zero hunger and zero usury programs, and some goes to the Project Love program, which works with working children who have to work. This same co-op leader did say that there have also been some people who have thought of ALBA as just another opportunity to have power and money. And he expressed concern about the lack of information available to the public about just what ALBA is accomplishing in the area of supporting small-scale agriculture.